Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of The Quest for Classics. Now, if you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, I don't know what you're doing here. You have to go back to the playlist and watch the first 3. But if you're very stubborn and you really don't feel like doing such, I'll be nice because, we're on good terms, and I'll explain how the series works for you. The Quest for Classics is a series where I go back and watch some of the most popular movies of all time, some of the most critically acclaimed movies of all time amongst the general audiences, seeing as that is a part of my cinematic repertoire that is really missing. Films like Titanic, films like Jaws, films like Jurassic Park, the latter 2 that I've watched during this series. And we as a group, I do it on the video, but you in the comments can also contribute, decide if this film is worthy of the classic label that it has been given by so many people. Now, episode 4 is a very special episode because we delve into the world of the Film Bro movie to beat all Film Bro movies, or that's what I've heard, Pulp Fiction. And here we go. Now, going into this, as it has been for the past 3 episodes, I'm conflicted, surprised. Colin is confused about a movie that has widespread acclaim. It's funny, the movies that everyone should just feel confident going into, I never am. I'm always afraid that I will think that they're awful. But specifically with Pulp Fiction, it's gotten a bad rap, especially because, oh my god, everyone talks about how amazing it is and how it's revolutionized cinema, and it's gotten the label of, as I said previously, film bro-y. Very common answer when you ask a university student's favorite film, especially a male, especially in his freshman year. And trust me, I've dealt with a lot of those people in film school as well. But it's a Tarantino film, and I've seen scenes from the film before for this one, like 2 of them. And from what I saw, the performances were really good. The cinematography was good. The writing was pretty solid. So I couldn't imagine that it would have been bad, but I was still a little bit concerned and confused about where it was going to go. So I went in with caution, but maybe not as much caution as I did with the previous 3. Well, I guess it's time to talk about what I thought about the movie. Here come the dislikes that you can't see. No, I'm just joking. Pulp Fiction is a good movie. Pulp Fiction is a very, first and foremost, well-acted film. The ensemble here is amazing, and I think there's career bests all around. Bruce Willis blew me away by emoting more than I've ever seen him, even maybe more than in Die Hard. I was really impressed by his performance and his nonverbal acting, because usually Bruce Willis's nonverbal acting is just him making the same face for an hour and a half. But here, he has a really good job with his facial expressions as well as his physical body language as well. Samuel L. Jackson is awesome. He's awesome in most things that he's in, but I think there's a little bit more depth here to his character as opposed to the usual typecast that he's often thrown into. John Travolta's great. I've never said that before in my life, I don't think. John Travolta is great in this movie. Keep in mind, if I'm missing any performances from these people, I just haven't seen them. John Travolta is amazing in this, and he really portrays this kind of like going with the wind type of guy, and it's nice to see. Uma Thurman's really good. Ving Rhames is awesome. I love Ving Rhames. I love Ving Rhames in every single thing that he's in. He's so cool, so collected, just a boss. Harvey Keitel was my favorite. Harvey Keitel wasn't in the film for a very long time, but when he was just a joy, just a pleasure. Quentin Tarantino was fun when he wasn't saying the N-word that he wrote himself saying. That's a little bit weird, don't you think? Just me? All right. Of course, the other technical elements are proficient as well. It's shot very well. I think the editing here, I often say this. I think that the editing is really underrated here, but I think editing is just a very underrated aspect of filmmaking that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. A film can be shot great, but if it's not edited well or proficiently, then the whole thing falls apart. You know what I mean? But anyways, I think that all of the technical elements are really good. even the writing for the most part, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Overall, I think that it is a good movie that is well made. Here's where the problems start, and I'm sorry in advance. This film, to me, is nowhere near as revolutionary as people have hyped it up to be. Okay, nonlinear storytelling is cool. Interconnected storytelling as well. Was there anything really that complex or really that brilliant about it? I don't think so. I do understand the compliment of being, this is one of the first things to do such in such a prominent role in cinema, therefore it influenced other films to do so, therefore it's an important film in cinematic history. But I don't think that translates over to it being good or being in like revolutionary in the actual objective, here's how good this was category. I know I sound so pretentious, and so I don't really care. I also don't think that the writing is great. I think that half of the jokes hit pretty well, just based on the absurdity of the situations. But I also think that half of the humor is in the shock value. Maybe not half exactly, maybe around a third. And I don't think it works out because if we're being frank with each other, I didn't find this film to be very shocking, and I don't want to hear the, oh, it's older, it's a 1990s movie, you know what I mean? The films aren't that, films got way more shocking nowadays. You can't expect a film back then to be that shocking, to which I say they were making like snuff films in the 90s, but like not real snuff films that are like actual narrative films, but they're like imitating snuff films. Also, Solo was made in the 70s, so there has been more offensive and obscene and insane content made before Pulp Fiction, and I feel like it gives off the vibe. I'm gonna do my best to do like a metaphor here, or like an anecdote. I don't know exactly what it's called, but so it's the guy in high school who is a part of like the popular group, and he's friends with a lot of people, and he thinks that he's really hard, he's tough, he's a part of the football team, and he is built well, but then behind the scenes, everybody makes fun of him and knows he's not all that because maybe he got beat up in like middle school or something like that, and it's all this like vibrato with nothing really behind it, if that makes sense. Basically, I think that Pulp Fiction considers itself more edgy than it actually is. There were certain points in this film that I genuinely got bored of it, which is a nuts thing to say, but I did. And you know what? I think that, okay, I'm going to say something. There's a film called Slaughtered Vomit Dolls out there. Would not recommend it whatsoever, but it's one of those snuff films I was talking about. Don't ask me why I watched. Maybe I'll talk about it one day, but not now. Was it an awful film? Yes, I think I gave it like a 2 or a 1 or something like that. Did I ever get bored during Slaughtered Vomit Dolls? No, because of all of the inane, insane, obscene, horrendous stuff that was in there. And I don't know, I feel like Pulp Fiction is mostly vibrato. And I really wish it wasn't trying to be so, there and present, because the story is actually really interesting and the characters go through very interesting arcs, and I feel like if it was a more subdued product that didn't try and be what it is trying to be, I hope I'm making any sense right now. I'm probably not. It just it didn't roll right with me. I think it would have been more interesting and would have held my attention if there was more attention paid to the development of the characters as opposed to the very, very dry bits of violence and stuff like that. Sure, dude shoots off his head. We don't see anything happen. We just see blood and like random little chunks of brain. It didn't really do much for me. So yeah, I know that's a really weird thing to criticize, but it was just, it didn't really hold my attention too much. This is the part where everyone's like, oh, okay, you're weird. But actually, I did think this was a good film, as I said at the beginning. I thought it was a really good film. I thought it was well made, and although I do have my gripes against it, and I didn't love the film, and I thought I in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just okay. I enjoy it on like a 5 out of 10 level. I am still going to give Pulp Fiction an 8 out of 10. Alright, and we finally have arrived at the final section where I tell you, the audience, whether I, Film Tape, think that this is a classic or not. And you know what? This wouldn't be one of my videos if we didn't get people riled up in the comments section a little bit. So, it is my pleasure to say that I personally believe that Pulp Fiction is not a classic. Thank you so much for watching this video. Next week, we'll see what I watch. Maybe Shawshank, maybe Green Mile, something along those lines. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.